making extra payments. We are showing you different examples every week so you guys can see how it's affecting you and your clients when you have a mortgage and you start making extra payments, right? These extra payments are going towards your principal. And when you're doing that, you're going to be saving a lot of years. So this mortgage here, this example, their principal and interest is around $3,100. And then they start making $300 extra payments. Over the course of this loan here, they're going to save 7 years. So that 30-year mortgage is 23 years mortgage now. And because they're making this extra payment, they're going to save around $179,000. So review your mortgage statement, see what you paid last year, what you paid totally, and what you paid out of that monthly payments. How much did it actually go towards your principal? You want to target the principal, make extra payments much as possible. And you don't have to have the same number every month. Maybe one month you're making $300, another month maybe you're making only $100. And another month maybe you have $1,000 laying around and you want to throw that against your principal. Okay, so your mortgage amount, interest rate, total amount saved may be different. The best thing to do is call your lender and say, hey, I already have this automated payment set up. I don't want to touch this, but I want to start making extra payments. Okay. Next, guys, this is in the news here. According to your NAR research, multiple offers are common on mid-price homes, and we see that all the time in Long Island and in Queens. And most of these houses are going under contract within a month, right? And you can see not just mortgages when people are getting mortgages, but even cash deals. Around 32% are increasing because the offers are increasing because of these cash deals. Okay. So when you have a cash buyer, all you need is proof of funds. You don't need a pre-approval from them. Just say, hey, I just want to see. You can maybe have money in 2 or 3 different banks. I just need to see it's under your name and it adds up to your offer price. Okay, if you're making an offer for $400,000, you can send me 3 different statements under your name, adds up to $400,000, and we're good to go. Okay, your home ownership among Asian and Hispanics are hitting all-time high. We mentioned that in our previous meetings as well, and we want to be helping out our minorities communities out there, right? Anybody that you feel like, hey, they might not qualify, check. You never know how much they qualify for. Speak with their loan officer and see how much they qualify for. Please do not judge anyone, do not discriminate, and help out anyone that's coming on your way that's looking to buy a house. Okay, this is for our listing agents, right? We just showed you data here that you should be going under contract within 1 month, right? Maybe 2 months max. But anytime you have a listing that's 2 months or older, there's something that's you're lacking. Maybe it's just not showing to enough people, right? We already have an inventory shortage. So if your property is not going under contract, maybe it is the price. Right? Maybe you guys listed it way too higher, right, than the market price. Maybe we need to go back and research the neighborhood again. Anything over 2 months, we have to start asking ourselves, hey, how many showings I have done for this property? It could be private showings, it could be open houses, but how many eyeballs that actually came to this house and looked at the whole property here, right? If you don't have time, and I understand that some of you guys are listing agents with full-time jobs or part-time jobs and you don't have time to host open houses every week, this is where you want to ask for help. Your goal should be, hey, let me be under contract. I don't care how it goes under contract. Is it through me or through another agent that's helping me out from our office or not? But I want to be under contract. Maybe the first 2 months you did everything on your own, hosting open houses, doing the private showings, and guess what? You're still not under contract. Maybe you still do need that help. So maybe you can send a message in WhatsApp, hey, I need an agent to host an open house. Here's my listing, 123 Main Street, right? And we don't want to set any rules that, hey, for every listing agent, you have to give this much or this percentage to this agent. It should be all negotiable. Whatever each listing agent is willing to offer, and you don't have to be a team member of this person. As long as you're a listing agent, you have the right to ask for help. Say, hey, I'll be willing to offer this much if you host this open house for me. You can simply say, hey, I'm not offering anything. As long as you get a buyer that's going to be a direct buyer without any agent, that's going to be your client. I'm giving you that opportunity to host open houses and get some leads. So it could be a win-win situation, right? You're the listing agent, you're too busy to host the open house. We have a newcomer, new agent that's hungry for new business, hungry for leads, and now that's a great opportunity. So if you're a listing agent not hosting an open house this coming Saturday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, please ask for help so we can schedule it accordingly. Okay? Next, guys, in the news here, headlines that more than 5,500 Detroit families' properties have title problems. So when we are coming to this, Daljit was mentioning earlier, their attorney is going through one deal where there's a title problem. We do not want to sell any property where the homeowner, that's your client, have any issues after the closing, right? We're not just here for one transaction. We want to build relationships and we want to do the right thing. Obviously, there's a title company involved, you have the attorneys involved, you have the loan officer involved in this as well. But if you have any title issues with the title, tell your client, hey, it's best that you ask for help from your attorney and your loan officer and the title company itself. If I'm a real estate agent, what I'm going to say, hey, I just need a title, clear title. There's not much I can do. It should be the right parties that's involved, making sure that there's no title problem. Your job was to find a property, show a property, go under contract. And I feel like when you have done those three, now is the other party's job to make sure that everything else aligns before the closing. Okay? Yes, any questions, concerns, guys? Anything on your mind? All right, guys. Next, you should be telling your clients, hey, if you're waiting for the interest rates to come down, you're going to have a bidding war. There's going to be more people qualifying for the same property. So if you see a home you love, please don't wait. Let's find the right price for this property. Let me do the comps and let's get you into this house before you wait until spring and we have a bidding war and you're going to end up paying more for the same property down the line. Okay. Also in the news here, all three headlines are very straightforward and saying similar things that home prices hit all-time high in December. When we get the data for January, it's going to be very similar as well because we know that because of limited inventory, low inventory, there's always a bidding war. So this is an example from our office here, and this happened just a few days ago. Agent went under contract, but after increasing the offer 3 times, there's definitely a bidding war, right? They paid $86,000 over asking price. The client loved the house that much. Our agent said, hey, even I'm surprised that my client wants to go higher and higher, right? He just loves that house. He wants to make that deal done. But to protect your client when you're overbidding is going to be your bank appraisal contingency, right? When there's a bidding war, you should always be saying, hey, we'll go higher, but I need to make sure my banker agrees. If they have another offer even higher than you without any bank appraisal contingency, that means the other client is even more hungry than your client. And the best thing to do is move away and go with another property. When you're going over, especially $86,000 over asking price, bank appraisal contingency is the only thing that's going to save your client from making sure that this is a good deal and not a bad deal. Again, we're not here for one transaction. We want to build relationships. Okay. Next, very similar slide here for your home prices index. We don't spend too much time on this, but nationally, not just even New York, but whole United States here, we're seeing month over month, the prices are going a little bit up. Year over year, the prices are going even higher. And 2023 appears to have succeeded national annual home prices gains over the last 35 years. So we saw that since COVID, right? Since COVID, the prices haven't been gone up and gone up. Before, it was just too many people qualified during COVID time because the interest rates were below 4%. Now it's just like limited inventory. Even with higher interest rates, still limited inventory. And here's some stats here for new construction. And guys, anytime you see a new property that's being built, take some action on it, right? Because the person who's building the house most likely they do not have a buyer today. If you're a real estate agent, you should be getting involved with them. Just ask the question, how are you going to break the ice with these builders? It's just by asking the questions. Hey, it seems like this was a one family and you guys converted into a two family. How many bedrooms are you guys making? Is it six bedrooms? Is it 3 over 3 bedrooms? Is it four bathrooms or five bathrooms? How's the basement? Will it be a finished basement? You guys know the whole deal. You guys are actually checking, so many properties. You guys know everything about the properties in general. So you guys can ask the right questions, right? When you planning to finish this? When you think you will get the CEO, a CFO, to make sure that we can actually sell the property, right? Those are the questions you want to ask. And these are some quotes from the Fed. So some people are thinking that, even myself here, that we should be expecting the rate cuts in the next meeting, right? But according to these articles, that might not be the case. So you guys can see here, according to Neil here, they're saying that we're not there yet on inflation. Okay, on this one here, Raphael, expect first rate cut in quarter 3. So third quarter, they're expecting it. But from our end, we hopefully, if the inflation is going down on March 12th, hopefully we see our first cut there. All right, guys, this is a question to you guys for our real estate agents, right? So you have a buyer, your buyer is ready to close, and your buyer's rate lock, right? The interest rate lock that they have is going to expire in 5 days. But you get the news from the listing agent, hey, the seller is not ready. He needs another 20 days to move out. What would you guys recommend to your client in this situation? Anyone? Your client is ready to close, expiring, the rate lock is going to expire in 5 days, but the seller says, I need another 20 days to move out. Would you have your client close or just wait it out? What should be the case? Julian, tell him to wait, right? So if he waits 5 days, he waits another 15 days, the buyer's rate lock is going to expire. So the loan officer is going to tell the buyer, hey, if you want to extend it for another 20 days, 25 days, or even 15 days, there needs to be a cost. So let's say the cost is $600 for that rate lock. Who's going to pay that $600? The buyer or the seller, right? So you guys want to tell your client that, hey, if it's going to be the seller, where we're having this delay because of the seller. So the seller needs to be penalized in some way or another, right? Also depends on the contract itself. What's in the contract? If the contract say, hey, the seller has another 20 days because it says you need to close by this much. It just happens to be your buyers has that CTC clear to close, from their lender fairly quickly. Then if the contract says seller has time, then the buyer has to do the pay for that rate lock and pay that $600. On the other hand, if the contract already says, hey, the seller should have moved out by now, and the seller hasn't, now the seller should be penalized and pay that $600 to relock that rate. Okay, you have to find out who's at fault, and you have to find out how are they going to work with either extending it, or if they don't want to extend it and the buyer says, hey, I really want to close, but I'll get the keys after 20 days. If that's the case, you want to protect your client. If that's the case, you want to tell the attorney that, hey, we can close and we can have a post possession, meaning that your buyer will get the keys after 20 days. If that's the case, how about those 15 days that's going to pass by? Should the seller pay rent to your buyer? Right? All of those things are going to be negotiated. How much money should be held in escrow to make sure that the seller will actually move out after 20 days? How about after 20 days, he says, no, I need another 10 days. All those things needs to be played and make sure it's written with the attorneys. As a writer, hey, this is going to happen after the closing. And you also, as a realtor, you want to do the final walkthrough once again, even though the closing happened today, but the seller is going to move out in another 15 to 20 days. When he's ready to give that keys, you want to make sure that the house is in the right order again. There have been cases where the seller decided that, hey, I need more and more time. So the money that was being held in escrow, that needs to come in and help out the buyer. So all those things matter. So if you have a situation like this, please ask me or speak to their attorney and see what options you have. Okay, just don't think that, hey, let's just close in the next 5 days and there's no consequences. There's plenty. Okay. How about another one in final walkthrough? You notice that there's a big tree. This happened with me many years ago. There's a big tree in the backyard and it was not removed. It's supposed to be, it was a giant tree. It's supposed to be out, when we saw the house and everything, when we went under contract. But at the final walkthrough, the tree was still there. So the buyer's upset, hey, why the tree's still there? So what to do? The closing is going to happen in a few hours, right? We have to go back. Does the contract actually says the seller has to remove it or not? Right? If it did, the seller should have removed it. Now he needs to be penalized for this as well, right? If it's going to cost $2,000 or $3,000 to remove this tree, that money needs to be held in escrow and given to the buyer, so the buyer can go ahead and remove that themselves. Even though it might cost them another only $1,000 or $4,000, whatever price that the seller is paying them at the closing, that's what the buyer will get. Is all negotiable. So make sure whatever you guys things that you guys agreed on, especially the ones that you guys putting riders on and everything like that, make sure those things are done at the final walkthrough. Okay. And the last issue here is going to be no show. It's a rainy day and you're waiting for your buyer to show, and maybe it's 5:15, right? And the buyer does not show, does not reply to your texts or calls, going to voicemails. What do you do in this situation? First, you have to ask yourself, hey, did I do the right thing? If the showing's at 5:15, did I remind my client around 4 o'clock, maybe at least an hour before, hey, we have a showing at 5:15? And also, when I'm heading there, especially when there's a drive to this, I want to text them. I want to keep them in the loop. Hey, I'm headed towards 123 Main Street right now. Are you on the way there? What time are you expecting to be there? But have an open communication. Please do not start texting or calling them when you already reached there and you had no communication throughout the day. Okay, so to prevent this, please have an open communication with your client. And when you're going to these showings, guys, make a habit of taking your broker full listing from MLS. It's a game changer when you have all your information for that particular property on a piece of paper. And MLS makes it really easy. I know KV Core is great. KV Core apps is great. You guys are using this, but having a broker full form with you, and if someone asks, hey, when was this property built? I said 1931. What are the taxes? Hey, 10,000, or is it 16,000, or is it 5,000? It's 16 total. 10 is regular, 5 is for the village, and then you have your total 16,000, right? What's the lot size on this? 44 by 100. How many bedrooms? 4 bedrooms. How many bathrooms? 2 bathrooms. This is without even when you're seeing this property with your client and they're going to be, maybe they're on the first floor and they're asking you these questions. You're going to be answering them right off the bat with this sheet. If you don't have a printer at home, use this office. Come to the office, print these out, and then go to your showings. Okay? But broker full on MLS Stratus is super important. Okay. Now these are when you're trying to do things yourself, DIY. These are don'ts. These are things that you should not be doing. So maybe you're talking to your client and you can tell them the same thing, that hey, if you want to renovate and you want to make some small changes, but please make sure that you're not tearing down the walls, right? You don't want the whole house to come down. You don't know what you're doing. You don't know where the real beams are and everything. You're just trying to make minor changes. Please do not tear down the walls, right? We get that a lot with the kitchens. Hey, this wall can come down. We can have an open kitchen. Yeah, but that can have some consequences, bad consequences for that property. And you don't want to check, touch any electric or plumbing issues either. You're not licensed electrician or a plumber, so please don't do those, right? And don't say, hey, let me go ahead and start opening up the ceiling and have a skylight, right? You're gonna have more roofing issues. You don't want to touch the roof at all yourself. If you want to make changes, make sure you're changing inside. Minor things. Okay. Again, if someone asks you, you guys are realtors. Some people will ask you, hey, I've been renting for quite some time. This is another stat for you guys for net worth. An average homeowner has net worth 38 times higher. That's 38 times higher than an average renter. So when the renter is paying their rent, they're simply paying it to their landlord. But when you are a homeowner, you're paying off your mortgage, you're building equity. Right? Especially when we showed you guys earlier, when you're making extra payments, you want to get rid of that mortgage in maybe 15 to 20 years instead of 30 years, so you can have that property and have your net worth built over the years. When you're renting, none of that thing is happening. The day you leave from renting a place, you only take your belongings, but there's no equity built over the years. Okay. Next, guys, is going to be some presentation that was presented by Mr. Ali here. So thanks, and sorry, Ali, for sharing this with you guys. So this comes in for condos and co-ops. So we have agents, who are dealing with condos and co-ops. So we want to go over those things with you guys. So first, your condo ownership is always better than co-op. Right? Condos has less restrictions. Right, but just note that both of them, condos or co-ops, both of them have property management team that's going to be handling your application. And if you're going to be a listing agent, right, for a co-op or a condo, you want to get all the information beforehand from your owner, right, the person who's going to be the seller for that condo or co-op. You want to ask them, hey, what is the development name, right? This building right here, what is the name for this? They're going to tell you that. Who's the managing agent? Get their name, get their address, phone number, right? So you have a maintenance fee. So let's say the maintenance fee is $800. What does it actually include? Does it include hot water or heat or garbage removal? Does that include all of that, right? And then you want to put down your amount in here. Even he put down some notes here, how many bedrooms, bathrooms, how many dinings here, right? Address of the office he put in here. Amenities, you can ask for your barbecue rules here, your carpet rules. So everything has to do with that property, right? The construction is for the building. Is it brick or not, right? Majority of the buildings are brick. So is there a doorman, right? Some of these buildings will have it, some of them will not. How much down payment is required if you want to purchase this property, right? So this one saying you need at least 20%. And then he puts 7x the total. I'm going to explain that a little bit later for you guys. So your fees, right? Your closing cost one time is going to be a 3 months maintenance. So we're just talking about one particular building. It's going to be different for different buildings. If there's a one smaller. If there's any flip tax or not. If there's what are your income requirements? So they're saying that this person that's coming in as a buyer needs to have income of at least $70,000. Okay. Does the super actually live in this building or not? Right? These are things you want to ask them. Hey, how many people are allowed to live in this property? So if it's a studio, they might just say, hey, only one person. If it's a 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, they might increase more people depending on the room there is. Okay. Is there any parking? Don't just assume that there's a building and I see a parking here that your buyer will be able to get that parking spot. Right? They usually have a waiting list and they go through that. Also for the pets, some buildings are pet friendly and some of them are not, and this one is not. Okay. How long does your processing time takes for app? This is the worst one. Really, depending on your property management, we have seen. We have one deal with one of our agent, and she's been with this deal for almost 3 months now. And the loan officer and the management team, they're going back and forth because they didn't have the right budget or the latest updated budget, right? So there could be some things from the management team that can really slow down their processing time. Your client might be ready to buy today, but these management teams or the loan officer might delay these issues. So when you know that they're buying a co-op, they're not buying, they're buying shares, right? So how is those shares divided? Every building will be different. So if they tell you, hey, you're gonna get 106 shares for this, 571 square feet, that's what you're gonna get, right? So all of these things you're going to be asking your clients, and take notes when you're talking to these people, because you're talking to the seller. You want to know who the management team is, so this way, when the application comes in, they know who to talk to. Okay, so all of these notes are by Mr. Ali here. So thank you for sharing that. Okay. So, guys, when you have a client that's looking for a co op or condo, don't say no. Even if it takes a longer time, you still have a deal that's going to be under contract. The attorneys and the loan officer is going to be taking them to the closing. But show a property as you would a normal single family or multifamily. Show your condos and co ops. Please do not say to these clients, because you could be losing out some money down the line with this. Okay. Next, guys, is that we want you to tell your client to prepare themselves for closing. So you're doing, you're following up with your client. Hey, you guys are already under contract, and now the closing time is coming closer. So these things, maybe a loan officer will provide this to them, maybe not. But you're going to be that extra hand when we're telling them, hey, what happens when you have to prepare for closing, at the closing, and after the closing? What are the few things that you should be recommending? Right? You did the hard part of showing them the property, went under contract, and then the loan officer and the attorney took them to the closing, and now you want to guide them for the next steps. So when you're preparing for closing, you want to know who is going to be at the closing, right? What are their names? Is going to be the title agent, is going to be the closing attorney, whoever it is, you want to have their names, because that client of yours already is familiar with yourself as a realtor. He has another loan officer and their attorney. Now there may be another party that's coming at the closing table that's going to be from the lender side. When is the closing? Where is the closing? Simple stuff you want to find out, right? But you want to tell your client that it is required that the loan officer reviews a CD with you, which is your closing disclosure, and it's going to give you a full breakdown of all your expenses that's going to be at the closing table. And the government requires that the loan officer reviews the CD with you 3 days before the closing is scheduled. So 3 days before the closing. Okay, so that is the law. So you want to tell your client, hey, you don't want to be surprised at the closing table. So the best thing to do is speak with your loan officer and review your closing disclosure, and make sure you understand every expense. If you have any questions, you ask them, or you ask your attorney to verify. Okay. When you're at the closing, now obviously you want to bring in all the money that you have to bring in. You're not going to bring in cash. Okay, you're only going to bring in either a cashier's check or a certified check, right? Both of them are similar. Or they can do a wire transfer. Be careful when we say wire transfer, because there's so much a fraud going on. When these companies find out, hey, your closing is happening, they pretend to be the lender and send you an email to wire you the money where they're not even the lender. So make sure, if they say, hey, it's a wire transfer, double triple check with your attorney and the loan officer before you go ahead and wire any money. Okay, that's very important. Some of these first-time home buyers they're in the excitement, oh, hey, I'm going to be a first-time home buyer, and then they make this mistake. It's going to cost them a big time. So you want to tell them of this fraud, and you want to tell them, hey, at the closing here, you want to bring a friend or family member. It's perfectly fine. Even if you're just a sole owner, you can bring a family member or friend with you that's going to be at the table with you. Okay. During COVID time, we had people, they didn't want anybody else coming at the closing table. But if you have a family member, especially if you're just buying by yourself, you're more than welcome to bring anyone that you like. Okay. And the most important is a valid driver license or ID. We have seen at the closing table where someone brings in an ID but is not valid. If it's expired ID, is same as having no ID. Make sure that the IDs are valid. These are little tips that you already, like I said, did the hard part. This is something to just tell them, so this way they know that you're professional, you have closed enough deals. Now what happens after the closing, right? You're not just say, hey, obviously you want to ask for referrals, but you want to tell them, hey, the closing already happened now. Now you want to do the change of address. So your bank accounts, your investments, or your credit card company, you want to call them up and say, hey, I need to update my address. You want to go and get your address updated on your driver license and your car insurance as well. Right? You want to call the utility companies, your gas, water, electric, and get everything under your name. Okay. Tell them if you want to do a change of address with the post office, you can do it where they will forward all your mail from the old address to the new one for 1 year. Okay. So those are the things that you want to tell your client when it's after the closing. Any questions, concerns so far, guys? All right, guys. So next, let's talk about capital gain, because this is what we another agent wanted to go more in details with you guys regarding this. So if I buy a house in 2024 for $800,000, then I want to sell that house in 6 years for $1 million, and now my profit is $200,000. I'm very keeping it very simple. So $200,000. So if my profit after buying and selling is $200,000, the government says for a single homeowner can shield, which means that's the break that they will get, up to $250,000 of the home sales profit, right? Whereas your married couple have $500,000 exclusion there. So for this person here, if I'm about to buy it for $800,000, sell it for $1 million, and now I made $200,000, I don't have to pay any capital gain taxes because it's below 250. How about if I bought it in 2020 for $300,000 and I sold it in 2030 for $1 million? Now I'm making $700,000 in profit, right? So if I'm married and I'm filing my taxes jointly, that's $700,000. How much break did I get? Instead of 250, we're getting $500,000 break. But guess what? There's still $200,000 remaining. So you're going to be taxed on this, right? What is the capital gain on that? That depends on your income and if you're going to be filing single or married. So in this situation here, if we're going to be married filing jointly, it's going to be 15%. If my income is between 89,000 and 553,000. So what is the 15% of that $200,000 profit I made? Your capital gain is going to be $30,000. So this could be a huge surprise. So the best thing to do for your client, tell them, hey, I know the government gives you a break up to 250 if you're single, 500,000 if you're married. But I would highly recommend that you talk to your CPA and tell him, I bought this house for this price in this year, and I sold it for this year at that price. What will be my capital gain? That's the person that will tell them exactly what the amount will be. But you guys should know the concept of it. Okay. If I'm buying it, selling it, making less than $200,000 or $250,000 profit, I don't have to pay any capital gain taxes. If I'm making over that, they will first remove that whatever break that they're giving you, depending if you're single or joint, is up to $500,000. I still have $200,000 remaining. 15% of that is going to be $30,000. Huge amounts. Okay. Any questions on capital gain, guys? All right, guys. So next, I'm going to go over some websites that you guys should be aware of, right? I don't want your client to know these websites and you don't, right? You guys should, all of you guys are realtors. You should be going to these websites, register for free, right? Sign up for all of these websites for free. So at least you guys have an account with them and see how they operate. So the first one is auction.com. Just like how we have the auctions in Nassau and in Queens courtrooms, we have auctions going on online, right? So the first one is auction.com. Simply create an account, type in your zip code or the county, and see all the listing that's available. Even if you're not bidding, try to look for an area that you actually want to serve and start paying attention to one or two different properties. And then it might take you a week to follow up with that property and see when the bidding, what price did the bidding start and what price did it end with. So it might take a week for you to follow, but this way you will have a good idea about these auctions. Next one is called zoom.com. Instead of it's home, instead of H is X here. Very similar to auction.com, and you guys can do the similar things in here, right? First thing should be signing up and then see how that operates. Next one is homepath.com. This is by Fannie Mae. Another one is homesteps.com. This is by Freddie Mac. Okay. These you can find are your properties. These are the banks that actually have properties available. Some of these properties will have priority for first-time home buyer, right? So if you're going to be living there and you're going to be a first-time home buyer, sometimes you guys have the first look for like 20 days. After that, they'll open it up to all the investors and everything, right? A pretty important website for you guys to view. Another one is called hubzoo.com. Very similar there. And the last one here is Maltz Auctions, right? They do both. They do online bidding and they do, in their office bidding as well. So all of these websites are good resources for yourself. So just take a look at for different properties. Don't just rely on MLS, but where you have all these other tools as well. Okay. All right, guys. Next here is your KV Core. In KV Core, we mentioned in the beginning that every one of you guys should see if there's all your alerts are set up for your clients or not. If not, set those alerts up. When you're following up with your clients, guys, simply click on the photo that you want to send this property to. More actions, send via text. This issue for your MLS ID has been fixed. You do not have to put anything in there, right? It will automatically pick up. But I highly recommend that you still paste the address before where it says, I think you might like this listing, to make it easier for your client to know that each text message has one property listed on it. Okay. Every one of you guys make a goal that I'm going to send out at least 5 different text messages every single day. Some of you guys are doing a lot more than that. That's really good for you guys, right? And I see that, especially people who are going under contract, you guys are using KV Core really heavily, so you guys seeing the results. But for the newcomers, people who are not really, tech savvy or not using KV Core, start using it and you guys will see the benefit. And start setting goals that, hey, I need to send at least 5 text messages through KV Core, and trust me, you will start seeing some results over the time. Okay. Next, guys, here we want to talk about a loan program for your clients. So this is a bank statement loan. One of our agent bought in a client yesterday, and initially he wanted to go with QM, qualified mortgage based on their income. But when he checked his income, he didn't qualify for this particular property, right? So we have different loan options where you can go with the higher amount, but it's going to be some pros and cons to that. So this is a bank statement loan for people who want to do no income check. They don't want to show their taxes. They simply say, hey, I have my business and I have my bank statements. Do you guys have any options for that? So we do have an option, but we want to make sure your credit scores are good. We need at least 720 or more. For your down payment, we need to make sure that you're putting down at least 20% for this type of loan. Your debt to income ratio can be 49%. And your closing cost is going to be addition to your down payment 5 to 7%. So this particular person needs at least 25%. 20% for your down payment, at least 5% for your closing cost. Because this is a non-QM, we always say go with the higher number. So 27% he needs. If they have that, then, and also they have the good credit scores, then we can offer them this loan program. What are some key points here? Again, no income check, no tax returns. We simply need their bank statements to qualify, see how much money was deposited into their account for at least 24 months, and we can use the money from that. It can be your primary resident or it can be an investment as well. Because this is going to be a conventional loan, your mortgage insurance will go away. But how about some negative things? One of those is that let's say you're buying a two family, then you need 25%, right? On top of that, you have your closing cost, 5 to 7%. That means you need at least 32%. So that's a lot of money. It's not for everyone. If your client has enough money, solid credit scores, then we can qualify them for this mortgage loan, right? Bank statement mortgage loan. They also need to have some reserves in the bank. So if the mortgage payment is $5,000, the bank wants to make sure that you have additional $15,000 just for rainy days. Okay. Another negative thing about this loan is your prepayment penalty. Because this is a non-QM, up to 6 months of interest if refinanced within 1 to 5 years, really depending on the terms. So there's some positives. Hey, I don't have to show my income. I don't have to show my tax returns. All I have is my business, and these are my deposits or bank statements. Check your deposits and tell me how much I qualify for. Your client will qualify for a lot more with this bank statement loan compared to their regular income. Okay. Any questions on this bank statement loan, guys? Okay. It's a really good program, not available for everyone, but we highly recommend that you give it a shot when your client does not have income showing on their taxes. Next, guys, is your home inspection. We mentioned that home inspection is very important, and you guys are supporting our agent here, Hassan Raza here. He can really do the report for you guys, serving in Queens and Long Island. He's actually doing in all the boroughs now, so you guys can ask for any address in New York City. The prices do range between 300 to 500 for a single family, but you guys can ask him for the price. But tell your client that your home inspection is really important. We want you to get a home inspection report, even if it gives us no negotiation room. Even if the seller says, hey, you can do your home inspection, but I'm not going to negotiate the price, I still want to get it done. If I'm buying a $500,000 house, that $500 payment to a home inspector is not a big deal when it comes to all the other expenses and what the value he's going to bring in with that report. Okay. Next, guys, for your new agents, guys, the only way you're going to be under contract on your first deal, on your next deal, is going to be building relationship with your clients. You have KV Core to bring some value. Why do we keep bringing in KV Core? Because you're the connector, right? What is the reason that this person is working with you? They want to find the right property fast, right? Before anyone else. So your job is to give them the properties as fast as possible. Not 3 days later, not when they already went to the open house. You're sending them a property and they're telling you, hey, I already saw this last Saturday with another agent, or I went directly to the open house because I saw this on Zillow, right? We want to beat those people. We are competing with those people and those apps, and you need to take some action on KV Core. I see a property, I want to send them right away. If you make a habit of following up with your clients in the morning, in the afternoon, the evening, does not matter, but just be consistent with it. Okay? You want to keep sending those properties, even if you're not seeing reaction from them, but they are viewing those properties, right? So be efficient, be effective. When it comes to your communication with your clients, use the tools that we have, guys, and let's be under contract. And every area that you're in, especially the area that you're living in. Let's say you're living in South Ocean Park. Let's say someone, you're serving South Ocean Park or in Nassau, maybe Hicksville, any area. You should know the inventory in that area, guys, right? You guys have the tools to do that. But the time actually you sitting down and actually going to these websites and viewing the property, inventory is key, right? This is what you have to sell. If you have no idea where the property, if there's a new property available or not, what are you going to sell? Your service comes with that property, right? You're the one, you're not the listing agent, you're the buyer's agent. So the buyer's agent have to hustle a lot more than the listing agent. The listing agent did the hard part of hustling and getting that listing initially. Now it's your job being on the other side, representing your buyer, and knowing the inventory is the key, guys. If you don't know it, there's no way you're going to help out your clients. Okay, viewing your dashboard here, viewing which client on KV Core are actually active, and then call them and say, hey, I see that you viewed this property on the website. Could I show you this inside this weekend or not? Right? Our job is simple, is to go under contract, which is easy to say, very hard to do. We have to do a lot more showings. If you're not under contract, audit yourself. Ask yourself, how many showings did I do last week? Right? If it's less than 10, you're not going to be under contract anytime soon. Okay? And if you're the listing agent, we mentioned you want to have your other agents host open houses, but doesn't matter if you're the listing agent hosting open houses or if you're assigning another agent, let us know so we can update MLS right away for you. If you're doing it on Stratus, that's good, but send us a message so at least we can tell other agents that, hey, there's an open house. It really bothers us. We have a new listing, properly listed for, I believe, it's a two-family listed for 1.3 million, and we had zero agent from our company go see that property. And that's kind of disturbing, right? That we have the whole MLS, we are looking at all that, but we're not supporting our agents. At least go take a look at the property yourself and see if it's priced right or not. And be honest with them. Hey, I'm looking at this property. I think it's overpriced by this much. Or did you really put it underpriced for whatever reason? Right? Let's show each other support and let's start showing each other's properties so we can get those deals done. If you need any open house signs, guys, I want in 2024, every listing agent should have their open house signs. So this way you don't have to come pick up these signs from our office. You have them in your garage or in your basement, and you're using them on regular basis. If you need your post for your for sale sign, we also sharing that website with you guys. Okay. Transaction desk, guys, I see some of you guys are really getting into it now. You guys know that, hey, dot loop is gone forever now, for good. So transaction desk is it. You guys can send out regular forms. You guys can even send out other forms that are not part of these MLS and upload them under document and send it for e-signatures. You guys can set up a one-on-one meeting with me here, so this way we can review these tools with you guys. Right? What's the point of us paying for these tools where the agents are not actually using it? And the people who are under contract, they're using KV Core Transaction Desk on daily basis. Daily basis, guys. And if you're having problem logging in, let's sort that out. There's no shame. Some of you guys are afraid to ask, hey, what's the PIN? What's the code for your realtor tools? And I have the same situation with the loan officers. It's perfectly fine if you forget anything. Hey, I can't log in for this. Ask for help. Nobody's judging you guys. As long as you guys are willing to go to the next level, we're here to help you guys. All right. All right, guys. Because we're short on time, that will do it from my end. Thank you so much for joining. I will see you guys next time. Thank you, guys. Take care.
Thank you, Barry.
You're welcome. Take care. Hey, good afternoon, Mr. Leon, Mr. Belay, and Mr. Harish. How are you guys?
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, guys. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay. Let me share my screen.